You special and she reckless. Remember, you're my bestest friend. Yeah, she my bestie. My love for you is endless. Nobody else can end it. And when I get the money back, then baby girl, you can spend it. And everything is alright. I like how you doing alright, alright. Like how you think alright. Always on top, oh yeah, oh yeah. Like how you do it alright. Everything good, alright, alright. Like how you think alright. Always on top, alright, oh yeah. I wanna know it tonight. I wanna be the one to surprise you. Wake you up in the morning. I wanna be the one that you calling. Cause I see you in the future with me. I wanna meet you. Love best friend and big family. I'm the storm in your dream, making wet dreams come true. She know she bad, better than bad. She a gunshot that blew my mind. No distance, I come by my side. Everything is green over here. Everything you want and think about. No, I got your back all the way. And everything is alright. I like how you doing alright, alright. Like how you think alright. Always on top, oh yeah, oh yeah. Like how you do it alright. Everything good, alright, alright. Like how you think alright. Always on top, alright, oh yeah. I wanna know it tonight. I wanna be the one to surprise you. Wake you up in the morning. I wanna be the one that you calling. Cause I see you in the future with me. I wanna meet you. Love best friend and big family. Me and you, we can be something we want to. When I see the dream we're chasing true, we don't care for me, yeah, yeah. Luckily we're free to be first class, wedding casually, oh yeah. I wanna know it tonight. I wanna be the one to surprise you. Wake you up in the morning. I wanna be the one that you calling. Cause I see you in the future with me. I wanna meet you. Love best friend and big family. I wanna know it tonight. I wanna be the one to surprise you. Wake you up in the morning. I wanna be the one that you calling. Cause I see you in the future with me. I wanna meet you. Love best friend and big family. Anything that you do now, everything that you do, everything that you do now. Oh, no, 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 no. You special and she reckless. Remember, you're my bestest friend. Yeah, she my bestie. My love for you is endless. Nobody else can end it. And when I get the money back, then baby girl, you can spend it. And everything is alright. I like how you doing alright, alright. Like how you think alright. Always on top, oh yeah, oh yeah. Like how you do it alright. Everything good, alright, alright. Like how you think alright. Always on top, alright, oh yeah. I wanna know it tonight. I wanna be the one to surprise you. Wake you up in the morning. I wanna be the one that you calling. Cause I see you in the future with me. I wanna meet you. Love best friend and big family. I'm the storm in your dream, making wet dreams come true. She know she bad, better than bad. She a gunshot that blew my mind. No distance, I come by my side. Everything is green over here. Everything you want and think about. No, I got your back all the way. And everything is alright. I like how you doing alright, alright. Like how you think alright. Always on top, oh yeah, oh yeah. Like how you do it alright. Everything good, alright, alright. Like how you think alright. Always on top, alright, oh yeah. I wanna know it tonight. I wanna be the one to surprise you. Wake you up in the morning. I wanna be the one that you calling. Cause I see you in the future with me. I wanna meet you. Love best friend and big family. passing through and don't care for me, yeah, yeah. Luckily, we're free to be first class, riding casually, yeah, yeah. I wanna know it tonight. I wanna be the one to surprise you. Wake you up in the morning. I wanna be the one that you calling. Cause I see you in the future with me. I wanna meet you. Look, best friend and big family. I wanna know it tonight. I wanna be the one to surprise you. Wake you up in the morning. I wanna be the one that you calling. Cause I see you in the future with me. I wanna meet you. Look, best friend and big family. Anything that you do now, everything that you do, everything that you do now. Oh, no, 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 no.
Let me see if my mic's here. There we go. What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? It's your boy Tristan Barracks here, the digital storyteller, and I'm super excited to be with you once again for another episode of Live Stream Mondays. We weren't here last week. It was a crazy week last week, guys. You know what it is. When you're working, and when a lot of things are happening, But I am great. And I am so happy to be here. I'm excited to be here. How you guys like the lighting right now? I have a little bit of a different lighting setup. I hope it looks good. I hope I look good. I don't know about you, but I hope I look good. And I am excited to talk to you about a few different things here. Oh shoot! I didn't even put my little self here. I need to make sure I put my social on here so everybody can see who I is. But type in the chat. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know where you're from. Let me know where you're watching. I'd love to know that, and I'd love to be a part of that as well. On today's show, we're going to be talking about my experience being on a movie set. Yes. Dope. It was a lot of fun. What can I say? I haven't been on a movie set in a few years, at least not on an official capacity in terms of like doing ADing or assistant directing. So it was really, really fun. It was very, very challenging. It was a very quick 3-day shoot, and I learned a lot on that shoot, and I want to share that with you. But before we do that, like always, I always like starting out with some of the questions that everybody has, let you know what I've been up to, what I've been doing. And so let's jump right into it. So first things first, I've been working on a few different things here in Toronto. There is a lockdown still. There's a lot of things going on. So if you are a commercial shooter or if you are a part of a commercial production, then you're still working. You can still work. My brother, he's working on the show The Boys season 3, and he's still working. I'm still working. I'm working from home mostly because I got my kiddies with me during the day. But pretty much everything else is on lockdown, and it's been a really, really tricky time and tricky season for creatives to create, because even if you want to just do just an impromptu styled shoot, or you just want to do a shoot with maybe a model and yourself and whatever else, it's becoming more and more difficult to be able to do that. And honestly, like, I'm just really trying to figure out exactly what the next sort of step is for me as a creative. And I think that a large part of it is going to be looking at creating more digital services and digital products, because at this point right now, with the vaccine rollout being a debacle in Canada, it's becoming really, really challenging to be able to, schedule things, whether it's live shows or weddings or, facilitations, anything like that. It's becoming even more challenging to be able to provide services like that. So I think as creatives, if we can think of creative ways, pardon the pun, to be able to maximize our skills and to utilize what's in our minds to then be able to monetize that on a day-to-day basis without having to necessarily leave our homes or having to leave our homes on a consistent basis. That might be a better route to go, at least for the time being. So that's what I've kind of been working on. There's so many things I want to share with you guys, but let's jump into some of your questions right now. Let's jump into some of your questions. Let's see the first question of the day, which is it's from T Brown, and T Brown says, Final Cut just turned 10. Okay, let's big up Final Cut for a minute. It just turned 10, 10 years old. And what do you think about Apple's legacy in the film industry? What do I think about Apple's legacy within the film industry? That's a good question. You know, honestly, I think when I think about Final Cut Pro, I think about how accessible it was and it still is. And I think the whole idea of Final Cut Pro and why Apple created this software was not just because they wanted to make a dollar. Obviously, they want to make money, but they wanted to be able to create a more accessible program for the masses, because everything that they do, we know Apple as such, everything that they do for the creative, or they try to do for the creative population. And I think when we look back at Final Cut Pro and what Apple has done to kind of shift the mindset of, you know, filmmaking just being this sort of high, loftily, really revered and really mysterious thing that happens only in Hollywood, and then giving sort of that power to the masses and giving it to content creators, giving it to cinematographers, giving it to filmmakers or wedding cinematographers, giving it to documentarians, and taking the power out of the sort of the elites or the exclusive creatives' hands. Was an amazing thing that happened, because before then, just to kind of give you an idea, before there was Final Cut and whatever else, there was really only two sort of softwares, or really one major software, which was it was Avid. And Avid was what we basically cut all of our movies on, any sort of digital or film movies for, you know, I would say from maybe the 80s, 90s, late 80s, early 90s, all the way up to about the mid 2000s was pretty much all cut on Avid. You know, there was some other options, but Avid was the main one. And Avid was like, I think at the time it was like 5, 10, 15 grand. It was a lot of money. And if you didn't have that type of money, then you were basically out of luck when it came to, you know, being able to produce a film. You would have to pay, first of all, you would have to pay for the software. Then you would have to pay for somebody who knew how to edit with the software, because the software wasn't easy to use. And it just became this whole sort of elitist thing. And the thing that I really, really loved about Final Cut was that I learned Final Cut on, you know, some college computers, because my brother was in an editing class, and he was tired of me always asking him to edit for him. And he just said, come with me to my college class, and I'm gonna teach you how to edit. And I sat in for free, big ups to Seneca at York, and I learned how to edit in editing class. That was the first time I even got introduced to Mac Pros, to Mac Pro Towers, to the video editing process. And it was only about maybe 6 or 7 people in the class, because it was summer classes, or a summer course. And I was sitting in there, and every time I had a question, I just asked my brother, or I even asked the professor at certain points, even though I didn't pay any tuition. And that's how I learned. So for me, Final Cut, I have a very fond memory of Final Cut, and that was, you know, predominantly Final Cut 7. And then when they switched 10 years ago to Final Cut 10 or Final Cut X, it was really kind of a bittersweet transition. And the reason why I called it a bittersweet transition was because I was working for Apple at the time, and I was training people on Final Cut 7. And I really liked Final Cut 7 because I was used to it. Obviously, you know, if you don't want to teach a dog new tricks, right? If you know what you know and you're creative with that tool, you really don't want to change your formula. You just want to be able to tell stories. And at the end of the day, that's what this all is. Whether it's a camera, a light, a piece of software, it's not about all of those tools. It's really about creating a system to tell the stories the way that you want to tell it, and in a expedient way, so that you're able to push out and tell as many stories, meaningful stories, that you possibly can. But that being said, I remember just thank you so much, CDH Live. Great seeing you. I remember going on to Final Cut Pro X, and on Final Cut Pro X, it was just so different, and it reminded me very much of iMovie. And when I saw iMovie, I saw a program that was like not professional. It wasn't made or designed for editors or for people like myself who I thought were professional editors or professional filmmakers. And then when Apple went the direction of iMovie and kind of created like a iMovie Pro type of thing, it kind of took me back. But at the same time, I was getting the program for free, and at the time the program was $300. I was getting it for free. I was getting all the side softwares for free, and I was just like, you know what? I was in this place where I was like, you know, I have to learn it anyways. Let me try it. And to be honest with you, the first year and a half, I hated that program. I hated the very first rendition of Final Cut Pro X. And the reason why was because it was more of a beta program more than a actual fully fleshed out version of Final Cut Pro. And that was the one thing that I said to myself when I was working at Apple that they did wrong, which was they marketed Final Cut Pro X wrong, at least when it first came out. Because what they marketed as was a fully fleshed out pro program. And it wasn't that at all. It was a beta program that they were continuously editing and improving. And the reason why they even created it was because of the fact that they basically they wanted to future-proof the application for future upgrades, software upgrades, hardware upgrades, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And at the time, Final Cut 7 was an old program that he had purchased from another developer that had old code from the 90s that was just not going to be efficient enough to work with some of their newer machines and newer software and newer ecosystem. So that's sort of the back history behind Final Cut Pro X. Where am I with it now, and what do I feel? How do I feel about Final Cut Pro X now? I love Final Cut Pro. I love Final Cut Pro X. I've used DaVinci Resolve. DaVinci Resolve is great. I've used Premiere Pro. That's cool too. That's more of a Final Cut Pro 7 type of look and feel. But I love Final Cut Pro X, and these are the reasons why. Because number one, I feel like it's accessible, and it's easy to use. So if you are just a novice user and you're just trying a new thing and you just want to learn something new when it comes to video editing and just jumping in and having that sort of iMovie-esque feel, then Final Cut can do that for you. But then also what it can do is it can also provide you with in-depth, like super high-end pro level color correction tools, editing tools, syncing tools, audio tools and effects. There are a boatload of things that are underneath the hood that are only there if you need it. So it's almost like going into somebody's house and like they teched it out and they upgraded it and they did all these sort of things to make it really super dope. But at the same time, you don't see it when you walk in their house. You know what I mean? You see it once you open up the cabinets, and you see it when you go downstairs in the basement, or when you check out the furnace, or when you go upstairs to the washroom, and you see all these high-tech gadgets hidden away in different parts of the house. But it's not just there for show. It's there for a purpose. And that's why I really love Final Cut Pro from the standpoint of the fact that you only see the tools that you need at the time that you need them. If you don't need the tools, you can hide them away. And many other programs give you all these tools and throw all this stuff at you visually, when oftentimes you just want to sit down and you want to edit, and you want to tell a story, right? So when you're thinking about any sort of video editing program that you are using to tell a story, you should often think about what is the editing process like? Can I feel fully free to just tell the story and block it out and figure things out in terms of how I want to lay out the rhythm and the tone and the feel and the vibe of that story? Or do I have to be bombarded, or am I bombarded with effects and transitions and plugins and all this other stuff that distracts me from what the task at hand is, which is to tell the story? So that's what I think the legacy of Final Cut Pro is. For those of you that are just watching right now, my name is Tristan Barracks. I am the digital storyteller, and this is Live Stream Mondays. I am taking live questions, but I'm also answering some questions that were sent to me by viewers like yourself through DM, through Twitter, etc., etc. So definitely hit me up. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and if you have questions, or if you're watching this on replay, please type in replay and where you're watching from. Let's jump into the next question. Next question comes from Natasha B Boy. She says, "What are you doing to stay focused during the lockdown?" That's a great question. What am I doing to stay focused during the lockdown? What are you doing? What are you doing to stay focused during the lockdown? That's a great question. I think the big thing for me, the one thing that I'm trying to do on a consistent basis to stay focused during the lockdown is, number one, educate myself. The number one thing that we can kind of fall into as creative individuals when we can't create is we fall into this sort of deep place of like, man, I'm not productive. I'm not saying anything. I'm not doing anything. Life is boring. Life sucks. I don't know what to create. You start second guessing yourself. And before you do any of that sort of stuff, take a step back and take the opportunity, which we don't get a lot as creatives because we're always creating, to actually level up your skills. Right? There's a great website that I would suggest everybody use and check out, and that is Masterclass. Now, obviously, there's many other websites that you can go and you can learn. I like Masterclass because Masterclass is literally like a super well produced high-end version of lynda.com or any other education website by some of the world's top creatives, top thinkers, top writers, top producers in the world, telling you their secrets, right? And the thing I like about it is it's more conversational than just like very technical and in the weeds. It's conversational, it's bite-sized, it allows you to learn some things. So for me, I've been really taking a deep dive into Masterclass. I've been reading some books. I got a couple of audiobooks. I got some physical books, and I've been leveling up my knowledge and my skill facet in that area or in those areas, and just really taking the time to sharpen up on my skills. So like, I'm getting better with writing, so I'm practicing my writing a lot more. I'm getting back into the podcasting world again. So I did some new interviews, which I'm excited to share with you in the next few weeks. You'll be seeing some announcements about some new podcasts and some new seasons to some older podcasts I've been producing. So there's a lot of different things going on. And I think that this is the perfect time to, if you don't have a business plan, to get a business plan together. If you don't have, a course done or a product done, a digital product done, or if you haven't reached out to brands, or if you haven't put together your pitch deck, or if you haven't updated your website, or if you haven't, reached out to your mentor or a mentor, this is the time where you can do that and you can level up and you can actually be able to, learn new things, learn new skills, and become better at being a digital storyteller. So I think those are some of the things that I would really encourage you to do. And that's what I've been doing during the lockdown. It really does suck. I've been trying to, go outside, go on walks with the family, been trying to eat better, been trying to stay focused by also taking some time to not just focus on work and the lack thereof, but also taking time to enjoy movies and films and just chilling out, thinking, one of the things I would actually suggest to everybody is find what's your safe place. And I don't mean like safe place like I'm offended and I need to find a place where I'm not offended. But what I mean is when you have an opportunity, where's your place to go to? Is it going for a walk? Is it, for me, I like going down Side Road 17 down here in Shelburne during sunset or sunrise, and that actually has a whole bunch of windmill farms. And when the windmills are touching, the sky, and you hear the wind going through the air, and you're seeing the sunset or the sunrise, it's like a beautiful moment where you just get to rest your mind for a minute. Or do you have a place where you can rest your mind? And how are you doing that, right? Those are really, really important things in order to kind of relieve some stress when it comes to the lockdown. For me, a part of the thing that helps me during this lockdown is actually talking to you, is actually creating stuff for YouTube and doing live streams and answering questions, which, by the way, hello, ask me any questions you want. Type it in the chat. I'm here to answer any questions for you. All right, let's check out this last question here, and then we'll jump into the topic of the day. So last question of the day comes from well, not the last question today, but last featured question, I should say, comes from Jay Reed. And he said, I saw that you were working on a movie, Tristan, a few weeks ago. What were you doing and what did you learn? Oh, that's a great question. And by the way, you are very perceptive because I don't post a lot of live things that I'm doing, especially when I'm doing like almost not top secret projects, but projects where I haven't really released a lot of things yet. But yeah, a few weeks ago, actually, not this past weekend, but the weekend before, I had the opportunity to work with some amazing, dope creatives within Toronto. And they're phenomenal. It's a partnership, a guy and a girl, Sharona and Troy. They have a production company, and they're actors and wardrobe specialists and just dope creatives, producers, directors, writers, just the whole nine yards. And well, I kind of approached them. They approached me, and we wanted to work together on something. And they had a really, really cool project, a 3-day shoot, short film that they wanted to film, and they wanted me to come on board as assistant director, and also with the opportunity of me being able to direct, 1 or 2 scenes. And I was like super, super happy with that. I mean, that was super dope. That was super, super dope. And I was extremely, extremely, extremely happy about being able to direct, and even assistant directing is still, directing in a certain capacity. But it was really, really humbling for me because I hadn't been on a fully fleshed out film shoot or television shoot in probably over, I would say probably 10 years. The last time I went on a film shoot or a film set, I should say, is when I was an actor, and I was, a background actor and the principal actor. And around that time, it was really, really cool in my life. I was learning a lot of things, and I really wanted to be like the next Denzel, right? The next Denzel Washington. Yeah. Who doesn't want to be the next Denzel Washington? And I got to a place in my career where, I loved filmmaking, and I love the film industry. I just didn't love the opportunities I was getting. So I felt like, you know what, I need to flip around. And thank you, by the way, for those that are giving a thumbs up, and I see you in the chat and everything. I really appreciate that. Big up yourself. Big up yourself. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Fire to you too, Aziza. And I was at a place where I was just like, I need to change. I need to create my own voice as a creative, and I need to make sure that I had control over my own destiny as a creative, right? Because oftentimes what happens, whether you're in the film industry, whether you're in the, the theatrical, like if you're in the theater industry, any sort of industry, you're a chef or whatever else, a poet, oftentimes you can get lost in doing the work, but you can lose your voice in doing the work and having consistent work. And that's what I found myself. I found myself, being casted for, the drug dealer, the guy in jail, the pimp, right? That's it. And I didn't relate to those roles. And now, don't get me wrong, as an actor, you should be able to act pretty much in any role, right? I get it, granted. But at the same time, I didn't want to be defined only by those roles. So one of the things I did was I decided to go back to school, and that's when I went behind the camera and everything else. But in doing that, I didn't go the route of, directing necessarily. I didn't go back into the film industry. So for a while, I stayed away from the film industry and kind of found my voice and felt my voice and went more into documentary filmmaking, went more into brand films, went more into wedding films and doing that sort of stuff. And that really worked for me for a long time. So now kind of coming full circle, and now really, a part of, I guess, what I'm announcing and what I'm sharing is the fact that I'm going to be going full steam ahead back into the film industry as an independent filmmaker, but then also as a produced, executive producer and a funded filmmaker in the commercial space. And the reason why I want to get back into is because of the fact that I want to be a director. I want to tell stories that matter to me. I want to write the stories. I want to produce them. I want to direct them, right? I don't have to write everything, but I definitely want to direct, and I want to produce them, and I want to put money towards them because there's stories that need to be told that haven't been told yet. I haven't made my best film yet. I haven't created my best piece of art yet. So that's really what's making me passionate about it. But back to today's topic, I think there are about 3 to 5 things that I learned when I was on this set. Now, number one, first of all, being assistant AD, first AD. What that means is a first assistant director means that there are 2 types of assistant directors. There's first AD, second AD, third AD, depending on how large it is. Third AD usually takes care of all of the background actors, all the extras, right? So they're the non-lined actors, just the background actors. Second AD is kind of like they usually take care of the second unit, or like really focus on the crew and like supporting characters and actors. And then the first AD is working is the right hand person to the directors, right? Or the director. So if the director, wants quiet on set, if the director wants to send out notes to the background actors, if the director wants to send notes to the principal actors, if they want to, push to get a certain shot, you are their vocal piece. You are their vocal cords. So you kind of speak to them, right? And I think the thing that I forgot about in terms of what the first AD was responsible for, they're also responsible for not just time management, but for vision management, right? Oftentimes the director has a vision and they may know how to articulate it the way they know how to articulate it, but they may not be gifted enough to have the vocabulary to be able to speak to the different voices that are in the team, or the different languages that are in the team. Because you have lighters, you have gaffers, you have grips, you have assistants, you have camera operators, you have the DP, the director of photography that just deals with the looks. So the AD, the first AD, has to be multilingual when it comes to communicating the vision of the director, technically, artistically, practically, time-wise, and the like. And that was something that I forgot that ADs did. So I had to do that. I had to learn how to do that. I had to learn how to talk to the craft services, and then at the same time talk to my PAs, my production assistants, and fix certain things, and then also prep for the next scene, as well as helping out for the scene that was happening at the same time. And then I was also at a certain point, I had to put on my director hat, because the writer directors were also in one of the scenes that I shot. So I now had to direct them, and I had to give notes to the DP and the camera operator, and then I also had to give notes to lighting, and I had to also give notes to audio, and I had to also give notes to the PAs, and I was managing and juggling all of these different individuals all at the same time. And it just made me appreciate the fact that I went through the path that I went through. And that's part of the reason why I'm sharing my full story, is because oftentimes we think that our creative journey is just a linear process, and it's not like that at all. Oftentimes the process of us being able to get from where we see ourselves to where we want to be, like where we see ourselves from where we are to where we see ourselves, oftentimes is like a whole bunch of these sort of squiggly lines, right? And we don't want to talk about that, right? This is something we don't want to talk about. We always want to talk about, oh, it's just linear. I went from X to this, to this, to this, to this, to this, to this, and it just worked out. It doesn't always work out that way. And for me, I had to go through, leaving the film industry, learning what my voice was and what type of stories I wanted to tell, to then go back and reinsert myself into the film industry now, with a greater purpose, with a more mature lens, and a more refined taste for the type of films that I want to create. The other thing that I learned was that it's not a one-man crew. This whole idea where we give so much applause to the directors, we give so much applause to, the creative directors or the producers, whatever else. Creating a film is hard freaking work. It's hard work, okay? To create a really dope film is even more hard work. You cannot create a film without a team. Now, if you feel me, please type in the chat yes, type in the chat fire, whatever you want. Just lift up your hands, give me a thumbs up, whatever you want to do. I'm telling you, you need a team. If you don't hear anything else I said for tonight, you have to, in order to create a film, anything meaningful within the film industry, within your life, building a business, building a life, acquiring housing, whatever it is, losing weight, you have to have a team. You cannot go through this life thinking that you can create and do everything on your own. You will not be successful. I'm sorry to say it. You need somebody to be able to be a dope writer, to be, there was somebody on set who was the second AD. They were just literally, they were literally just the script supervisor. The script supervisor, meaning they were just checking to make sure that everybody was dropping their lines the way they were supposed to drop their lines. That's it. Sometimes, like, who in your life is just like proofreading your work, or just like helping you to make sure that you sound right when you are projecting yourself out there in public? Who's that person that you can trust, that you can practice with when you're presenting, when you're getting ready for a presentation, or when you're creating a video for YouTube or a video for social media? Is there anybody that you trust that will, that if they see something and it seems off to them, that they'll tell you? Everybody needs somebody, right? We all need a team. So that's the second thing I learned, is that, man, like it was so crazy to see, like, I'm just going to give you another example. Just the camera operator alone. Okay. So you had the DP, right? So the director of photography, he has a team. He has a team of lighters. He has a camera assistant who also does focus pulling. So he will hold the camera and direct sort of everybody where the lighting is, and work with the director and the ADs to make sure he knows where he needs to, what shots he needs to get, and what placement of the camera he needs to go to. Right? So he's holding the camera. There's another person pulling his focus. There's another person changing and switching his lenses and making sure everything's looking right. There's another person that's raising and lowering lighting. There's another person that's just doing the clapper, right? Action, right? So there's about 5 people that just focus on just the visuals, not even just the visuals, but just the camera operating of the visuals. So the camera operator holds the camera. Then there's somebody that just pulls focus wirelessly. Then there's another person when they shout out cut, goes and says, okay, when the camera operator says, okay, let's switch from the 85 to the 50, there's somebody that changes the filters, wipes off the lenses, blows the sensor, makes sure everything's tight and together and focused and fixed. I mean, guys, like, you can't do this by yourself. So that's the other thing I learned. The next thing I learned was, not every learning experience will come with, how can I say this? Every learning experience will come with its own costs and rewards. Many people want to be mentored, want to get experience, want to learn, want to do all this stuff, but they don't want to pay the cost for it. There is a cost to learn. There is a cost to be mentored. There is a cost to grow. There is a cost to lose weight. There is a cost to grow your business. There is a cost to do a lot of different things. And here's the kicker. You have to decide what you're willing to spend and invest on yourself and your own growth. Now the people that we see that are super successful, that are doing things in the film industry, in the creative industry, that are dope digital storytellers, you don't know how much they sacrificed. You don't know how many, like, there's many people we hear of stars that were homeless at certain points in time, that were kicked out of their apartments, that were on their last paycheck, that were starving and struggling, but they still believed in the process because they believed in themselves, and they also believed in the fact that they had to be consistent, right? I think it was I forgot which young lady, which comedian it was. She came in that Tyler Perry movie. She's like the biggest black comedian right now. If you type in the chat, you let me know. She was in Girls Trip. She's like the girl that always wiles out and goes, ah. She was actually homeless at one point in time. And this comedian was. And when she was homeless, living in her car, she used her checks from her comedy shows and whatever else to pay for acting lessons. Not to pay for an apartment or a hotel, but to pay for her acting lessons as she slept in her car. I mean, again, I'm just saying, you got to do what you got to do to get what you need to get out of an experience, right? So for me, just to give you an example, I didn't get paid to be, first AD, right? Matter of fact, I didn't it wasn't even around where I lived, right? It was about 2 hours away from where I lived. I paid for a hotel for 2 nights because I wasn't going to drive back and forth home, right? And that came out of my own pocket. I never once asked the directors or producers to pay for that. I every morning I brought a breakfast and snacks and stuff like that for the directors and the producers. Why? Because I want to show that I wanted to be there, that they were important to me, that they were showing something to me and they were giving me an opportunity, and I want to appreciate them. I want to show them appreciation. You know, many times people have come to me and asked me, "Hey, Tristan, can you mentor me? I'd love to come with you on shoots and blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "All right, cool. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool." And they're like, "Here's my number. Give me a call anytime." And I never pick up the phone and call them. You know why? Because they don't have something I want. I have something they want. So if they want something, they need to show that initiative and show that desire to learn and to grow and to be hungry enough to level up. And even if it costs them stuff. I mean, if you talk to any person that I've mentored, whether it's O'Shane Howard or others, I mean, O'Shane many times has come on shoots and not gotten paid. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that you shouldn't get paid, but sometimes I'll be like, "Listen, it's not a paid job. Can you come help me?" And he's come help me, and that has opened up doors for other opportunities. Same thing with me. Sometimes he'll ask me, "Hey, can you help me? You know, the budget's kind of tight," and I'll go ahead and I'll do it. And then that will open up other doors for us. So that's number two. Number three, the other thing I learned was that there's a process to this filmmaking thing. There's a process to this filmmaking thing. What do I mean by that? I think that we live in a culture where it's so inept in telling us or showing us the actual process of things. I forgot how hard it is to make a movie. Not only just make a movie on time and on schedule and on budget, but also to write a movie, to write a script. Do you know how hard it is to write a script? And then to write a good script, and a script that makes sense, and then a script that actually makes somebody or people feel, and then to find actors and actresses to then bring that movie alive, and then to find, and here's the thing, you can have great actors and actresses, and then you can have a terrible production team. To then you have to find a production team, a group of professionals that know how to shoot and light and are dedicated to this thing. This is no joke, guys. This is no joke. There we go. Thank you. My mom said it. Tiffany Haddish. There we go. Tiffany Haddish was the comedian I was talking about. This is no joke. This is no joke. It's a real thing, and this is something that I want to really put out there. And for those of you that are joining me just now, this is my name's Tristan Barracks. I am the digital storyteller. This is my live stream Mondays. I come on every Monday night at 8 p.m. Answer your questions and answer questions from my DMs and from Twitter, all about digital storytelling and the like, and what I'm doing in the industry and how I'm creating and how you are creating as well. But nevertheless, and actually you can ask questions right now, live questions, drop them right into the comment section. I will answer them below. But the thing is, I think that we don't appreciate the fact that it takes a village to produce a film, and it takes a process. It takes you have to ideate, right? You have to understand the ideation process, the just how to really formulate the idea of what your film's about, what story you're trying to tell. Then from there, you have to develop some sort of, infrastructure of a storyline, right? Then you have to write the script. Then from the script, you got the first draft, second draft, third draft, whatever. You got the script down. Then you got to cast your talent. You got to figure out when you're going to do your production, shoot. Then after that, you got to do all of the editing. You got to do all the editing and the cinematography and the color correction and the audio. Listen, you could have an amazing production team when it comes to filming, directing, writing, and then if you have terrible audio, it's a wrap. So there's so many different components and so many different processes in order to make an amazing film. I just have a greater appreciation for it. Number 4 for me point is that leadership is key. Leadership sets the tone. A film is no different than being in the military and being on a cruise ship or being on a battleship or whatever else. You have your chain of command, and the tone that the leadership sets will trickle down to everybody within the production. And I loved what the vibe and the energy and just the spirit by which both Troy and Sharona carried themselves. They were very, very caring about the team, about the whole environment. They were super relaxed, and sometimes they were tense, but I was there to kind of relax them a little bit. But they were leaders among leaders, and they were able to set the tone from the very beginning that they were about business, but they were also about being focused and allowing people to flourish within the space that they were given, right? Within the sandbox that they were given. So that's another powerful one, right? The other thing, the last thing I would say that I learned from this whole sort of being an assistant director for a film a few weeks ago was the fact that I don't know how to say this. I'm super hungry and thirsty and burning to make a film. I learned that I want to make films for the rest of my life. That's all I want to do. I don't want to do anything else other than tell stories, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. I want to make films. I'm super passionate about it, and it just made me want to write more scripts even more, get better in my writing, get better in my producing, get better in my networking. And I just want to write so many stories. I want to work with so many great creatives, and I want to continue to create experiences, both from a production standpoint, from pre-production, post-production, and production standpoint, that is transformative. And I want to create films that speak to culture and that speak to creating a vast perspective, variances of perspectives, so that people can experience life in different ways, can see life in different ways. So I really learned that, you know what, this is not just a little fad thing. This is not just a little itch. This is like a burning in my gut that I need to create films. I need to tell stories, whether short or long form. I got to tell stories. So those are the things that I learned. I learned as a AD assistant director, and I would love to hear your thoughts. I would love to know, if you have any questions about that, if you have any questions about storytelling or about the gear I'm using or about anything that has to do with any of this stuff, media, how to get into the film industry, how to find actors, how to find a great team, any of those things, because I think that any way I can help, I want to help. I want to assist. This is what, this whole Live Stream Monday is about. It's about you guys. It's about building the community up and making you guys feel dope. Dope. But that being said, I'm going to just wait around for a couple more seconds. And if you don't have any more questions, I will encourage you to check out my YouTube channel. If you aren't a subscriber, definitely consider subscribing, and definitely give me a thumbs up if you like this live stream today. There are going to be much more live streams every single Monday at 8 p.m. And not only that, I have a boatload of new videos that are coming through, that are being produced for the channel. I'm really excited to share them with you. A lot of practical videos. It's not just going to be gear reviews. It's going to be, practical videos that will be helpful. And obviously we'll sprinkle in some spice and some fun stuff in there, so that you guys can learn stuff and have fun and really get a sense of some of the tools that you can use to tell the stories the way you want to tell them. Anyways, guys, I see that nobody else has any questions. This was a phenomenal night. I really do appreciate it. And for those of you that are still here, thank you so much. Namaste. God bless you. All that good stuff. Stay safe. Stay blessed. Stay focused. Peace.